When I was younger, I never really failed at anything. I didn't even have thoughts or concerns about failure. But in recent years, things have changed for me.
I remember getting back my first bio test, my bio 200 test grade, and it was a 50. And I was like, oh no.
I couldn't go to the school that I wanted to go to.
I got an exam back and I failed it by a lot.
I kept applying to whatever opportunity I could find, and I would still keep getting rejections every single time.
I felt like I failed my sister when she got pregnant.
My friend and I were planning a fundraiser, and we only had one team sign up by the time of the day of the event, so we had to cancel it.
In my first semester of freshman year, I used to be a bio major, and I thought it was my calling. I wanted to be a doctor, and I remember getting back my first bio test, my bio 200 test grade, and it was a 50. And I was like, oh no, okay, but we'll do it. We'll get them next time. And then I got another 50. And I was just I just kept not doing well in that class, and I had to resign. And I realized that I wasn't going to do well in the bio major at all.
When I first applied to college, I applied for a specific program. I applied for design tech to do lighting design and sound design and building sets and stuff like that, which was really exciting. And I did that all throughout high school, and even I must have started in 7th grade. UB was the only school that I could pick because of financial reasons, and it kind of going through the process of realizing, money is a big thing, and you don't make a lot of money doing that major. So I was kind of pushed into that direction of not doing it.
Last semester I was in a really hard course, and our grades are mostly made up of exams. That's all that comes with our course grade, except a couple homeworks, but it's mostly test based. And I got an exam back and I failed it by a lot. And my professor even asked to talk to me after class because it was such a bad grade.
So I started applying to companies in August. I applied for 50 companies, 100 companies, 150 companies, and I didn't hear back from any of them. I did have a couple interviews lined up, and I started preparing for those. And even after I tried my best, I still couldn't get through any of the interviews.
I felt like I was a failure as far as being her big sister, her mentor, really trying to lead her into the right direction.
High school, my friend and I were planning a fundraiser. So we planned it in my high school to have about 100 people show up for 10 teams of 10, and we only had one team sign up by the time of the day of the event, so we had to cancel it. So that was kind of a disappointment because we planned it all out throughout the 2 months, 3 months, and trying to raise money for a local nonprofit.
I think it definitely did make me feel like a failure. I was really embarrassed to tell my mom. My mom's really supportive of everything I do, but I was just I was really talking about this for a while. I told all my friends, I told my family, I told my teachers, everyone who I looked up to, that I was going to be a doctor.
That was really hard, just having to reevaluate what you thought you already knew, and being told that you can't do that. My parents, they were supportive, but they didn't really want me to do it. So
I was really upset because then I agreed to meet with my professor, but the time we agreed on was a couple days afterwards. So those days leading up to meeting with my professor, I just was thinking about that grade and what he was gonna say and what was gonna happen with the course, if I was gonna have to drop or retake it over the summer or something and push back graduation. It just really really was dwelling on me what was gonna happen in that meeting.
There was a time in March that I remember, I don't necessarily know if it was just pressure of classes or pressure of just finding a job and seeing around you that our friends were getting jobs but you were still struggling or still interviewing and still failing at them. I had a really big mental breakdown one night when I was just in my room, and everything that I was building up and not talking to people about, it just all, you reach a point where it's the limit, and once it reaches a limit, everything starts to overflow, and that was one of the biggest mental breakdowns I've had throughout my 4 years at UB.
I just felt I felt like I failed her. I felt like I wasn't the big sister that I should have been in that situation. I definitely overreacted about it, and I only saw the negative outcomes. I didn't see the positive outcomes in that situation.
So it was definitely defeating, putting all that hard work into something and then not having it be successful. But it definitely just put me into a little bit of a saddened state, trying to think through the steps that we did and realizing that our hard work didn't pay off in the end.
I still signed up for bio classes for the next semester because I was like, okay, this semester sucked, but we can like do this next semester. But then I think I had like a breakdown or something. And then I just like looked up online like other majors that I could possibly do that would be similar to what I'm doing right now. And then I found my current major, public health, which is what I really wanted to do, and I switched like before the second semester.
Like there's a weight and like pressure that people like put on you to like figure it out. And so I guess for me, like I felt like I had to pick something as quickly as possible, and luckily what I picked worked out. Like
I definitely think it was helpful to see my professor. Even if he didn't ask me to meet with him, I probably would have gone in to speak with him. And then from there onward, he helped me make a plan of how to study for the final and how to make sure that didn't happen again. And so he would go over practice questions with me, and he said, if you have any questions, come back.
Well, I guess one thing that helped me as far as like being depressed and feeling sad is keeping myself looking toward the future, looking toward how this being will be like beneficial for our family. And I also kept myself busy, like I kept myself active, and I continued to keep the relationship with my sister like positive. Like I didn't want anybody to look at her down, look at her like she was less than a person because she was having a baby at such a young age. You know, she was 15. I had to assure her that, you know, everything's gonna be okay, and I had to assure myself that everything was gonna be okay.
After only one of the teams like signed up, we had to cancel the event. So after that, I was kind of going back into a planning stage, and then we had like a couple other events coming up, like all accumulating with like one final gala. So like we just kind of redirected our energy into like the other events, trying to like make those even more successful than we could, so we could still raise the funds that we were looking for and helping the local nonprofit that we were supporting.
Definitely my mom, because she's the person who I do everything for. Like, you know, I want to become a doctor so I can just like make enough money to like give back to her, like, you know, when I was at that point in my life, and just like everything I do is for her.
When I deal with things like that, I usually like shut down and just like take it on internally, which is not the best way to do it. I like would never tell my family, or like most of my friends, like people in the class that I would sit with, like they would tell me their grades, but I'm like, oh yeah, and like I would just kind of like change topics, like I wasn't going to share that. I have one friend that I confide in when it comes to that, and we're in similar classes, and we both don't do the best as we could, but we study a lot, and so I do confide with her, but even so, it took me a while to get up to that point.
I think that like college was one of the first times that I had a really solid group of friends that I could talk to, which was really nice and surprising. Yeah, I think that having people that are really close to you, whether it be friends or family, just somebody that you can talk to, whether you make a mistake and trip up, or you're lost and you don't know where you need to go, just somebody to like talk it through is really important.
And I don't think I would have ever like moved past this if I didn't have my support system that I can rely on, and I know who will like help me out without any judgment or without holding back on information. Sometimes you just like need someone to listen to you, right? It's not necessarily like, can you give me advice, but it's just like, hear me out.
Me and my mom really worked through it a lot. We talked about it, and even my sister herself, you know, we talked about it, and she kept reassuring me, you know, you're not a bad sister. Like, this was a decision I made. It wasn't you on me. And my church family really helped a lot. They really assured that, you know, everyone makes their own decisions, but at the same time, you have still been there, and you're still going to be there for her. So.
The thing that probably like pushed me the most was like looking at like the end goal. So we knew like what we wanted to accomplish, and just trying to like keep focused on like why we were doing it, and like the main reason, which was like in our case was helping build a playground for like handicapped students. So like just like keeping our like eyes on that goal was like the most important factor.
I am from India, and back in India, at least when I left 4 years ago, mental health wasn't necessarily a thing. It was more like no one talked about it. Like it was taboo. People don't talk about it. And the word depression is used very casually. Like it's like, oh, I didn't get something, let's say like materialistic, so I'm so depressed. And I think people fail to realize that it's an actual thing, and it's a lot more serious than just using it casually or expressing that you're sad.
Failure is like whatever you make of the situation. So like every day I could wake up and I could be like, I'm not happy, or I'm not like doing what I want to be doing, but like at the end of the day, like, I don't know, making the best out of every situation.
I failed.
I failed.
I failed.
I failed.
I failed.
I failed.
I failed, but I kept pushing. And you should too. That thing you're concerned about may not even matter in the long run, because there is more to life, and there are multiple ways out. So figure out a way out and make that failure a stepping stone. Find your support and don't give up. Remember, you are not alone.